Okay, I got some wings and ribs, so I'm looking forward to trying that. I can put this underneath or right over there like that. Okay, I'll put all my bones in there, and I'll put this in so it's not so noisy. There we go. There. So, wings and ribs. Got some water. Now the reason I'm drinking water is last spring I decided I want to drink more water and less pop and all that. And that lasted for a few videos, and then I kind of fell off the wagon. Now, I enjoy drinking water. I drink a lot of bubbly, which is carbonated water. But, surprisingly, I don't drink a lot of pop. But for my videos, I do, because I always think it looks better, It's just more interesting if I'm eating, a plate of food and I got like a big Dr. Pepper or something sitting there. But, I always feel kind of, sometimes I get a headache from drinking too much pop, and I just feel kind of full and, and bloated and, kind of gross. So anyway, I'm going to dig in here. So I got some wings and some ribs. These are teriyaki wings and some barbecued ribs. So I'm just going to dig in here. Now, a big shout out to Luke Cowing. Luke Cowing wanted a shout out, so big shout out to you, my friend. And a big shout out to the rest of you as well. Things are about to get messy. Not before I get into my video. I need some techie advice. Back me eventually. I've been using a Logitech C920 webcam and my Yeti mic, and so far that's worked very well for me. I'm happy with it. The only thing about the Logitech C920 that I don't like, once you get beyond about 3 or 4 feet, it's kind of out of focus. It doesn't focus, much more than behind me. You can see the wall. That's still fairly focused, but once you get beyond that, that's it. It's out of focus. Now, for my ASMR, that's okay. But for my cooking channel, that's terrible. It doesn't work at all. I'm gonna try some of these ribs. So what I'm trying to say is I think I'd like to have an upgrade. So here's where I need some advice. I'm happy with my sound. I struggled with that for months. But what I would like is a better camera. Now, I don't know if I should buy a camera and plug my mic into it. Like get one with the external microphone so you can plug the Yeti into it. I don't know if that would work, or do I need a special app for that, or do a lot of people do it that way? Because I don't think the mic on the camera would be as good as the Yeti, because the Yeti's a lot closer. I don't know all the specs, but I think the frequency and response of the Yeti would be better. Now, some people also, from what I understand, they have a camera and the mic separately, and they sync them up. Okay. I'm not sure how to do that. I mean, I understand having your audio track and your video track. I know some people, they clap their hands at the beginning of the video. They can see the spike in their audio and they sync them up. But could I do that in the CapCut app? I use CapCut for editing. Am I able to do it in CapCut? I keep hearing about an app called Audacity. Audacity work for something like that? Now another problem I have, or another concern, is most cameras, not video cameras, most regular cameras, people use them for video, but they can't go beyond 29 minutes. Because from what I understand, after that, they're classified as a video camera. So they can't record beyond 29 minutes. Or 30 minutes, whatever. For my cooking channel, that'd be fine. But not for my ASMR, when sometimes I go well beyond a half hour. So that's kind of my dilemma. You know, if you were me, what kind of setup would you use? What app would you use to sync your audio and your video? I know there's a lot of smart young people out there, and a few old dudes like myself that know a lot about that. But I really would like to level up. I've been doing this channel now for a year, and I would like to do an upgrade. So, I'm just putting that out there. I always appreciate the responses I get. I read them all, I consider them all, and sometimes I take a bit of this and a bit of that. And I really appreciate the advice. I really do. So anyways, I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about horses. So, I remember the first time I sat on a horse. I was scared to death. I remember before we moved to Saskatoon, we lived in a small hamlet called Buffalo Gap. Southern Saskatchewan, very close to Montana border. And our neighbors had a horse. Well, a lot of people in Saskatchewan had horses, but especially on the farms. But this was a small hamlet. And this horse, they used to use it in the wintertime to pull the sleigh. And they used to ride. I used to see it in their they had a little pasture type thing behind their yard, behind their house, and I used to see it there, just sort of grazing away all the time. So Albert, the guy who owned the horse, I remember they had it in their yard or something, but there was a bunch of kids standing around. And they would get on the horse and he would just lead them around the yard. He would just pull the lead and he'd lead them around the yard. They get a little ride that way. And they were enjoying it. So my dad, he asked me if I wanted to try. I can't remember what I said, but I remember him lifting me up and putting me on the horse. And I remember I'm sitting there really high and I'm just looking at this thing, looking around. Everybody seemed kind of small, right? And I was terrified. And I just, I reached for my dad. He He's lifting me off because he could see that I wasn't comfortable. So that's the first time I ever sat on a horse. Like I said, in Saskatchewan. When you visit a farm, there's always horses. Cows, chickens, pigs, but always horses too. Not always a lot, but even just one or two. Even just one. My cousins had a horse they used to ride. And as I got older, when I was about 8 or 10, we used to take turns riding around the yard. But big animals used to be, I used to be intimidated by big animals. Like if I saw cows out in a pasture, they didn't seem to bother me, but if I walked into a barn and all the cows are in there eating, in their stalls, I'd walk down the middle, there'd be cows this side, cows on that side, and I'd feel very intimidated. And horses were kind of intimidating because they're so big. Now at some point, I guess as I got a couple of years older, I must have overcame my fear. I know my sister, she's 3 years older, she loved riding horses. And I thought, well, if she can ride horses, what can I? Like I said, every farm we visited, and almost all our relatives still lived on farms, there was always horses. So occasionally I get a chance to ride a horse. Very slowly. I remember the first time I rode a horse like by myself where somebody wasn't leading around. I remember my cousin, she was on the horse and I got on the saddle behind her. I just held on to her. She was a little bit older than me too. Then we just walked down, went around the barn in a few places, not down the trail, came back up. I enjoyed it. It always surprised me that when the horse started to move, you could feel every muscle, you could feel it just, the saddle would squeak and, you could feel the hips and everything, all the muscles moving. And so, she let me, she wanted to know if I wanted to try it. So she got off. We both got off. I got back on. And she gave me the reins and she tied them together. And, said just, pull back for whoa and, just turn this way. Just, she said the horse would feel it on its neck. And so she did that and she grabbed the bridle and started walking along. She hang on to the bridle. I slept down the horse all by myself. A little bit uncomfortable. But then she let go of the bridle. And we were just walking along together. She said, okay, now make the horse stop. And I just pulled back with whoa, and the horse just stopped instantly. I thought, wow, that's cool. Then we started walking. she starts going this way. Well, I didn't have to turn the horse because the horse just followed her. But I really enjoyed that. That was so much fun. I still love visiting my cousins on the farm. You know, it's kind of funny because what kind of got me thinking about this is where Linda and I live. We live in like a rural area, and it's not real common, but it's not totally rare to see somebody riding a horse down the street. And of course, we're surrounded by woods and trails, so quite often you see horses or a lot of horse poop. Good ribs. I'm already picking out. Must have a drink. Like I said, around here people ride horses. It's not overly common, but it's not rare either. That's why, because we're in a rural area. But in Saskatoon, when we moved to Saskatoon, it's a different story. You didn't see people riding horses down the street unless it was a parade or something. But there's a Saskatoon is surrounded by small towns and farms, so there's lots of places to ride horses. And there was one place called the L-Bar S, and across the road and just down the ways was another farm called Claypool. And you could ride horses. Now, I'm thinking it was 50 cents an hour or something like that. It wasn't, I mean, back then that was a lot more money than it is now. But anyway, we used to go riding for an hour. We used to go out the old bar S. My sister, myself, my dad, maybe a friend or somebody, or excuse me, maybe a couple sisters, but we went there so many times that I know I have a picture of my dad and I riding a horse out there, riding horses, and my sister and I used to go quite a bit. I used to have a little cowboy hat I used to put on, and my friend Richard, we used to go. That was so much fun. I loved it, just absolutely loved it. You know, they always gave you gentle horses, nothing high-spirited. I remember when the horse, like we just kind of walk trails, but sometimes, you know, the guide would say, you know, would you like to run a little bit? And so we'd start trotting or cantering, whatever, and I'd be, you know, bouncing up and down like this, hanging on the horn, hanging on the reins, and it would just kind of, just be bouncing away, right? And they said, you know, when you gallop, it's a lot smoother. And I was kind of afraid because I thought, you know, walking with a horse, I'm very comfortable just walking. But once it starts going faster, I was afraid I'd fall off. Because I mean, when you're bouncing along with that, but I remember not smooth. It's almost like being in a rocking chair. And so we started galloping, and she said, we'll just gallop, I think up to that tree or something. It was like maybe a couple hundred feet, and then we'll stop. So I just said, okay, so let's go. So we just whacked our horses. Once all the other horses went, mine just followed, right? We just started galloping. And I remember just hanging on for dear life, right? And I couldn't wait for it to be over. But I have to admit, it was a lot smoother. It wasn't bouncing up and down. But I was really surprised how fast I could go. So after that, I was relieved when we stopped and just started walking again. So we used to go to the LBRS a lot. Usually, well, always on a weekend. So I think it's one weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, we wanted to go there, but I think they were too busy or something, so we had to go to Claypool, across the street and down a little bit, or across the road. And they had, horses that they rented out too. So we went there. I think it was basically the same price, And so this one time we walked along, I had a stubborn horse. Couldn't get that thing to move. Now sometimes they'd be real stubborn until you would come back, they saw the barn, then they'd head for the barn. But this one horse, he was just kind of stubborn. I remember having a hard time with him. And so the guide came up beside me. He was going to grab my rein to pull it along, which she did. And then she let go of the rein. I was riding, and my horse got a little too close to hers, and her horse kicked, and it just kicked me just in the toe. I just got in the toe, but did that ever hurt? Holy cow! I couldn't imagine getting kicked in the head or anything, any other place. Man, I must have limped for a week. But it was a good place to ride horses. Now, one of the best horseback rides I ever did was in Mexico. My ex went there, her and I, in 2000. I think it was either 2006, 2007. We did 2 trips to Mexico. Very close. So it was one of those years. And we did this horseback riding excursion for about 5 hours through the Sierra Madre. It was just fantastic. Just my ex, myself, and a guide. It was so nice, walked through streams and all these beautiful trails and beautiful scenery and just up and down, and got to gallop a bit, and then we stopped at this place just out in the middle of nowhere. It's like this little it wasn't even a community. It was just like somebody lived there, and they were cooking outside, and just just this typical little Mexican place, I guess. And it kind of reminded me of that movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or some western that was filmed in around Mexico or something. It just kind of reminded me of that. And we got Coca-Cola in glass bottles, which I hadn't had in years. I mean, I see them all the time now, but there was a number of years I didn't see that. And they fed us some Mexican food. I think that was all included in the excursion, right? But, of course, we leave a little tip. But just like this little ranch they have that's in the middle of nowhere. It was so cool. So unexpected. Rode through a couple of little villages. Remember walking through this little she says, I didn't say hola, I said hello. I guess you want me to speak English to her, so kind of funny. Cute little thing. But horseback riding is so much fun. I've done quite a bit since I moved out to the island too. I remember taking my little sister horseback riding. She was like me when I was a little kid. She was terrified. Go on the horse and the horse started, just kind of running a little bit. And she was screaming, just screaming, so we stopped. But I was the same way at one time. I'm still not completely comfortable on horses, but I always look at it as an adventure and I enjoy it. I think I told this story before, but it's like this story was just a little funny thing here, where we took my youngest boy. Well, we took all the kids horseback riding. I think my little girl was probably too young at the time, but my little boy was about, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 7 anyways. Can't remember, but we put him on a horse, and the lady's explaining all the parts, the stirrups, the saddle, the bridle, the horn, and he's going like this. And my ex, what he do? And he was pressing on the horn, trying to get it to make a noise. He thought it was like a horn in a car. It was so funny. Kids are so cute. Now in 2015, Linda and I went to Cuba. We went horseback riding there too. Now the horse I got I thought it was kind of small. I looked like I'm riding a burro. My feet are almost touching the ground. It's ridiculous. But we rode along, and the guide at one point, he said, I'll just leave you guys here. I'll be back in a few minutes. Well, he took off. He wasn't back for about at least 20 minutes. I don't know what he was doing, but he took off. He went and met with some guy. It seemed a bit sketchy to me, but we were right on the beach, so we took our time walking along the beach. So we'd run along the beach and then stand in the water and then come back. And it was just so much fun. That was the best part of the whole riding thing, was just being by ourselves, just running up and down the beach and walking, and walking through the water, and just, it was so nice. That was a nice ride, too, a lot of scenery. Used to make me sad when I go to the fair and I'd see these horses tethered to a merry-go-round, just going around and around all day. People be riding them, just going around in a circle. I got some video I shot of my little girl when she was about maybe 3 or 4, sitting on a horse and just being led around the yard. I never got bucked off. I remember one time I got on the horse and some kind of spook. It started going kind of sideways real quick and just sort of, I just kind of took off. I just, kind of went close to the fence and then stopped real quick. I don't know if it was trying to throw me, but, they called it back. But think something just sort of temporarily spooked it for a second. Because now horses can spook pretty easy. I remember when I was just a couple minutes ago, I was talking about that little girl in Mexico came out and said hello. While riding that same street, I remember we were riding along and some guy just stepped up from behind a fence and the horse just kind of went like that, right? We were very startled. You know that movie, City Slickers? There's stuff like that you can do here in British Columbia, not on the island, I don't think, but there's parts of British Columbia where they have those cattle drives, and you can go for, I think the minimum's a couple of nights, I think, but you can go for like a week. I don't know if I'd want to do it for a week, but even 1 or 2 nights would be pretty cool. You learn to look after your own horse. You do this cattle drive, and that'd be a lot of fun, I think. I know it's quite pricey. We looked at it once a number of years ago. It was very expensive. One of my coworkers years ago told me when she was in, I think it was when she went down to Nevada, they did some kind of a thing with mules, where you ride a mule down into somewhere, and it's like an all-day thing or an overnight thing, but I can't remember. But she said it was just so much fun. She said those mules were really, really good. She thought they'd be all stubborn and everything, but they weren't. My last one. These are good. I know Linda, my girlfriend, she grew up on a small neighboring island, and she had a horse. And, it's funny, she's told the story a few times where her mom got insurance on the horse. Everybody thought that was just ridiculous. Why would you get insurance on the horse? I can't remember exactly what happened, but the horse got loose, and it destroyed something in somebody's property. I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think there may have been a car involved too or something. But anyways, the insurance came through, so thank goodness for that. It's funny, I can't remember all the details of that. She's told me that a couple times. But when Linda was married for a number of years, her and her ex-husband had a small hobby farm. They had a horse for their daughter. That's kind of cool. A lot of my cousins, my older cousins, rode horses to school in Saskatchewan years ago. They had a one-room schoolhouse, and they'd ride their horses to and from school. That's pretty cool. Well, that was good. I still have a piece of my Black Forest anniversary cake that I'm going to have to eat one of these days. It's in the freezer. If I thought about it, I would have taken it out, but I'm quite content. I've eaten quite a bit here, so I don't think I need to eat that. I could always enjoyed riding horses in places like Mexico and Cuba and different places because it's a whole different scenery and just everything's different, you know. I really like that. Oh, I gotta go wash my sticky, gooey fingers. So, you take care, my friends. Shout outs. Anytime you want to shout out, let me know. Okay. I am, you know, if you leave a shout out in my cooking channel, I may not see it for a few days or so. If you leave it in my ASMR channel, I'll see it right away. But either way, you can't expect a shout out for at least maybe a week or so, because like I said, I record my videos all ahead of time. And if I somehow miss it, get back to me and say, hey, you missed my shout out, and I'll do it. So I love your comments, love hearing from you. Hope you're all doing well. You know, we got some snow. No, we didn't get snow. We got a lot of rain there a little while ago. Man, did it pour. Holy cow. It just poured. Well, we knew this was coming because it predicted like a week at a time. But the higher elevations got snow. If you look up in the mountains, you can see the mountains are just white. I saw that yesterday. I was driving. It just looked so nice, you know, just beautiful, and it was just really white. But where we live, it's just strictly a lot of rain. The ditches are full of water. We got something like 87 millimeters of rain. One of the islands got 91, but that's a lot of rain. You know, and very quickly it was just coming down. But I'd take rain over snow. I mean, snow is nice. It just makes it hard to get around sometimes. And the pass going to Victoria, unless you have snow tires on, I mean, you could drive back and forth all you want without snow tires, but if you get caught, you'll get a ticket. And it's pretty easy to get caught if it's snowing and you're just not going over your slide and going like this, you know. But if it's just raining, I mean, why would they stop you unless you got a speeding ticket? Then they noticed it, you know. But no, that's you know, snow. It's funny how I've changed my whole perception on that, especially since I've retired. I used to just really dread winter. Living in Saskatchewan, winters are like, oh man, they were long, you know. Long and cold. Oh, I swear it's, you know, we got snow in October and finally melted in April. Might be a bit of an exaggeration, but we would get snow in October sometimes and it'd still snow in April, but it was just the winters so long and so brutally cold. Out here, we don't get a lot of snow. We do, it's gone within a couple of days. It just makes it hard to get around, but the thing that used to irk me about getting snow when I was working was you get so much as a skiff of snow, people would be phoning in sick. Oh, I can't come into work, you know. Too much snow. Well, it's like, you know, and I remember one of the nurses said, you know, it's funny how people can always, they can't come in to work when snowing, but they always manage to get home, you know, which is true, you know. It never stopped anybody from getting home. But, so, and that's the thing that really bugged me about snowing. That's about the only thing really then was just people would phone in sick, and a lot of times you'd be short-staffed, and that's brutal because you got to do a double shift sometimes. And I have to say, I think I said this before, that in all the 36 years I was with the company I work for, I never missed a day because of snow. Until about the last few months I was there. In January of 2022, I retired in May of 2022. That January we got all this big dump of snow. It was very wet, and I couldn't get my car on the driveway. I just couldn't budge it, and it was just piled high. So they came and got me. But like I said, I told that story before. But that was the only time I phoned in because I couldn't come into work. But I did go in, albeit I was late. But I don't like to sound like a broken record and repeat myself, but I know I just told that recently. But no, you know, and as I get older, I appreciate the seasons more anyway. So anyways, that was my horse video. Take care, my friends. Thank you very much for tuning in. I love you all. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. Stay amazing. goes in